So happy to have you here. A little bit of a story before I start on how I got here, how Bluon came to be. So, you know, the R22 phase out, we're over a decade into this thing. You probably heard R22 kind of like you're hearing R410 right now. You know, something's coming, it sounds way off in the future. We'll deal with it when it comes, and we are here. I felt like June 2021 was really what we've been planning for north of a decade. So about 10 years ago, our founder and CEO quit his job in commercial real estate. He was very successful in the commercial real estate world, but as a physicist, he wasn't happy doing what he was doing. He wanted to get back in the lab and knew the R22 issues that were on the horizon, working in commercial real estate, and was not happy with the R22 replacements out there at that time. So it seemed like everyone was saying, how can I make something cheaper than R22? How can we make something that gets the job done when R22 is gone? And his whole vision was, how can we make something better than R22? Better's subjective, right? So we can get into that. But it took him 3 years with a team of research and developers to finally come on to that final blend, the final solution that was eventually called TDX20. Another 2 or 3 years to get through the EPA. So I think we're the only kind of non-Honeywell, Mexichem, you know, the big oligarchy of refrigerant manufacturers. We're the only one that kind of squeezed in there and got a refrigerant EPA approved, which was an interesting look into how Washington works. And we were, obviously that's necessary to be successful in this market. So got that done. ASHRAE approval was easy. Our R number is probably on one of these papers. It's a R458A, which you can see 4581, so kind of played into that a little bit. And then we had a product. We had the best R22 replacement on the market, which is like, great. So, you know, good products fail in marketplaces all the time. I would say that's especially true in HVAC, because if a technician's not used to it, if they get to a job and they don't recognize something, they're gonna make it work for them. Right? So they'll rip out whatever they don't recognize. You know, it happens all the time. So how can we take this premium refrigerant and make it sticky? How can we get this into the market? Because you talk with distributors, there's no demand because people don't know of it. You get this chicken and egg that I fight against all the time. And eventually you got people to make a jump and say, look, we want you to build this market out with us. We don't have a market yet. That's why we're having this conversation. So we did that strategy, but we also focused on technicians. We said if the HVAC technician can use our product and we make it easy for them to use and we help them and we give them the support that they need in the field, then they're going to be asking distributors for our product, and we can work this kind of the full circle. We said, let's build an app. You guys, hopefully you've downloaded the app. I think everyone's heard it, but if you haven't, download the app. There's an access code to get in, 4581. I'm pretty sure I've said that to everyone in the room already. And what does the app need? Well, it needs all the R22 systems out there, every single one. It needs proper retrofit protocols for every single one of those units. So again, you're talking 2-ton fixed orifice, it's pretty simple. You get above 20 ton, it gets complicated. You get into some interesting compressor configurations, it gets complicated. And our app outlines every single one of those protocols that you need to either do or at least keep in mind as you're doing a retrofit. It also said, well, they need to talk to someone. How many people have ever called manufacturer tech support? I have. Next day, sometimes they get back to you. Hours, you're on a rooftop waiting for help. We're going to differentiate ourselves. We're going to exceed in customer service. So we created a 24/7 call line. That call line would get a lot of calls about people using our product looking for retrofits. On the other end of that line is a US-based technician, at least 25 years in the field. It became, the way the program has grown, it's a path into retirement for a lot of technicians. It works out really well for them. But they're trustworthy. They can talk to you guys when you need them. The average wait time is less than 2 minutes. I call it just to test it sometimes. It's like 10 seconds. Our biggest issue this summer, aside from product availability, because of where R22 is do we have enough techs on the line? So we're hiring about 3 a week to make sure that we give people the support they need. So what would happen is, like on Tuesday, a technician would call us and say, hey, I got this retrofit issue. Oh, what are you working on? Have you discharged? What's the suction pressure? All that. And it was like, oh, this person knows his stuff. So then on Wednesday, they're on a different job, not a retrofit job. They call that number again because they know there's someone on the other end of that line that will help them in whatever it is they're doing. And as a company, we're like, what do we do? Do we answer these? Do we help them out? Or do we just focus on supporting our product? And as a business, we recognize the need, we're fulfilling that need, and we're here to help the trade out with whatever issues they have at any time of the day, holidays, weekends, 24/7 live tech support for the entire industry. It's a tall order, it's an expensive task. We're dedicating a lot of time and resources into that, and the feedback that we're getting from technicians, I haven't tested audio yet, but I'm hoping we can watch a video of how much people appreciate what we're doing for the trade. Again, complements the refrigerant, but that's when I say has a life of its own, it really does also stand alone. The other thing is all those, I never did take a drink, all those products out there have product manuals on the app. So we've got 35,000 R22 models, each with product manuals. We figured techs need to see what's going on inside the unit, right? The manual, yeah, it's supposed to be in that sleeve on the side, but good luck finding it. We didn't know it at the time. We were creating the best product manual library ever. It's completely manufacturer agnostic, right? You don't have to go to a different manufacturer's website to see what you're looking for. And people say, why don't you have this new unit? Why don't you have the new train units? Well, they're R410, we're an R22 replacement manufacturer. That lasted about a week. And it was like, all right, we'll throw some R410 on there. This is again, kind of moving in a direction we didn't plan, but as a company, we can pivot and we can offer that support. So now we're up to 45,000 unique models. If it's a R22 unit, specific retrofit protocols, and either way, product manuals, installation instructions. We've actually pulled out of the product manuals wiring diagrams, things that you guys need quickly on the job to help you all out. I think we'll be able to do a demo of it, but either way, you guys can pull it out because you guys are all in it now, and we can click through it and see what's out there. So that's how I ended up here. Was a company created a product, they saw a need, we've pivoted, we're going 2 different directions. We have 2 products, which I think is my first slide, of the refrigerant, which we're going to dive into pretty deep, and then the platform, which we'll touch on as well. So really appreciate you guys being here. That was kind of a lot. Any questions? Is anyone? Yeah.
I think this is going to be to my knowledge, this is the first time any Macy's tech have come to one of these.
Okay.
And just 2 weeks ago on our chiefs meeting, they were discussing, does anybody know a good R22 replacement? Well, I've not been introduced to one till today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share this information with Macy's, and it'll probably go nationwide because we're in almost every state and some overseas as well. And so this might be a shot in the arm for Bluon.
That'd be great. I hope you guys have been able to be part of like explosive growth businesses because it is fun, and that's been the past couple months for us. Is R22. My guess is you guys have, if you've bought it recently, you've paid over $800 a jug, if you can find it. So that's been like a 3x increase over the past year, 2x increases over the past couple months. And that's not the only one. Other R22 replacements have tripled in price as well. So, I mean, what have you guys worked with in the past? Let me guess, 407C, new 22, MO99, anything else? 422D, yep. So we'll go into all those. And I don't know if you bought it recently, but I think 407C was $95 a jug when I started at Bluon. That was 7 months ago. And I heard for a 25 pounder, $375 the other day. Yeah, 400. So that's the highest I've heard then. So we're actually cheaper.
Yeah, it's tripled in the last 3 months.
Yeah, so we're cheaper than 407C. which, we ran a successful refrigerant company when we were 3 or 4 times the price of 407C and 20% more than R22, because we outperform R22. Those that knew the product and wanted to do the right thing for their units would pay a premium for TDX20. And now the value prop is the same, but the economics have shifted completely to our advantage. We have not seen any inflation, aside from what everyone's saying with trucking and shipping and stuff like that, but no raw materials that are warranting the massive price increases that you're seeing on other refrigerants. So I'm not going to talk price, obviously that's between you and MRG, but it's comparable to what's out there for other replacements and just far outperforms them. All right, so that was my closing slide. I thought that was my opening slide.
And we're done.
Yeah, and we're done. So it looks similar. I mean, come on, give me a break. Everyone has the app. That's the QR code to download it. It's also on those papers. I don't know if you can take a picture and send a QR code to somebody and have them download it that way, but feel free to share it with your friends. We hit 50,000 technicians on the platform 2 weeks ago. So it's growing about 6,000 a month out of an estimated population of 300,000.
That's great.
So it's nuts. We were celebrating, this was before I was there, we hit 2,000. We're like, oh, we've cornered the industry. And it's just been, so it's been great. I'm gonna try this. If it doesn't work, there's nothing I can't repeat, but we'll see if the audio works. It's coming out of my computer. I don't know if that's, I could try to, if you want to put my computer out there, that's probably a play, and see if you guys can hear it.
With Bluon, we're doing things that were literally not possible before. Up on the roof, in a condenser corral, we're 130 degrees, the compressor's running cool.
We're all screaming, man, this is awesome. It was solid, the machine's quiet, the cooling's where it was supposed to be.
It doesn't lose capacity, has better efficiency, and it's better for the equipment.
I've never seen anything that works like this. R22 doesn't work like this. There hasn't been anything that has got me excited in the HVAC industry like this.
That's mind-blowing, revolutionizing our trade.
The industry's going through a transition from R22 that everybody's used for 40, 50 years. It's not a question of just paying more money. They're going to have to make changes.
For years and years and years, we had a product that worked. Came in a green can. To now have a product, it works better than that green can. I get the same capacity, and I save energy.
Temperature splits. Average would be 9 to 11 degrees of temperature split. I'm seeing 14 on some of them. That's just unheard of.
Keeps the capacity, don't have to add or change oil, lowers the head pressure. I've never seen anything like this product.
We've got over 17,000 units in our app right now. Put in a model number and it'll tell you what you need to do, give you a step-by-step process. Plus it's got the manuals for all 17,000 units, which is worth its weight in gold.
I've heard that a lot, that it sounds too good to be true. And once they try it, they look at me and go, yeah, you're right. It does exactly what you said.
Bluon really is the complete R22 solution.
Since Bluon, I'm not getting calls at 10 o'clock at night saying my wine unit's broken, I need to fix. It still blows me away.
All right, hopefully that was good enough. We have a YouTube channel, so if you want to see it again, feel free, and I'm sure there's if I can get everyone's emails, I can send kind of a follow-up email at a minimum so you can have my contact information, and we could put some of those videos up there too. So what did you guys hear in that video? There's 4 main points that I go to when talking about this product. Let me see if you guys caught any of them.
Lowers the head pressure, which makes the system more efficient.
Yep, so that's going to touch on efficiency, right? Head pressure, so it'll make the head temperature cooler, more efficient, yep.
No oil change?
No oil change. I always lead with that one with a technician because that's a pain.
There's no orifice changes? He didn't talk about it, but
So it depends on what you're working on. So it runs at lower pressures than R22. So if you're talking about adjustable TXVs, they have to be adjusted to account for the pressure change. But fixed orifice, kind of under 5 ton, you just charge to superheat and you're good to go.
Superheats are still the same and subcooled?
It's different. On their app, there's a superheat subcool calculator along with the PT chart, which we can pull up the PT chart here in a bit as well. So we hit oil, we hit efficiency.
No capacity loss.
No capacity loss. So that guy that was on there was in Phoenix. And if you can have no capacity loss in Phoenix, I think they hit 125 last week, you're good to go. 407C, again, will top off probably in the mid 90s and start dropping. That's where you get those no cool calls. So think about a technician's time. No oil change, no callbacks because of no cool. When the system is performing as designed, it's just not designed to perform in 125 degrees. So those were the 3 product ones. The 4th one's kind of tricky. It's the support network. And you heard on there 17,000 models, so we're 45,000. Anytime we try to cement something, it changes so quickly that, what's on there? Does it say 35,000 models or?
Yeah, 35,000.
Yeah, so 45 now. We'd send pop-up banners to distributors. They would say 20,000 technicians on the app. I was like, well, that was dumb. That was dated in 10 minutes. But yeah, those are the 4 things that we can get into. So let me go next slide here. We've talked about this. So what is Bluon? 2 things, a product and a platform. Let's talk about the product. So we've mentioned more efficient. I've never seen a number in the single digits. I'll say that. We've seen 10 to 25 kind of as our sweet spot on efficiency in the unit relative to R22. And keep in mind, if you're going through the time to do a proper retrofit, the most expensive part of that customer's bill is going to be labor. So if you're using an MO99 or a new 22, where you're dropping capacity, dropping efficiency, potentially having an oil change depending on line length set, the incremental, and this presentation's old actually, because what I say is the incremental cost of TDX20 is negligible compared to that benefit. So instead of dropping the efficiency of the unit 20%, you're increasing it 20%. And the way you lower the base, right? So you're talking 45, 50% increase in efficiency relative to other replacements out there. So if anyone's looking for, what are we doing with R22? What's the best R22 one out there? It's not even close. This one, and I'll go out of order here a little bit. This was a study done by Mingledorff's, which is a partner of ours in the Southeast. And on here you can see we're working with a very simple system. So you don't need to adjust, you don't need to swap control panels to do a proper retrofit. You kind of just follow the normal protocols, evacuate, filter dryer, recharge. With R22, it was running an amp draw of 6.8 and an EER of 10.6. They took out R22, put in MO99, the amp draw jumps to 9.4, and the EER drops about 20% to 8.4. This is in a lab environment. This isn't environmental factors. This is as controlled of a study, of a third-party study as we've seen. We've obviously done a lot on our own, but it's nice when you can show someone else showing the same data. Took out the MO99, put in the TDX20. Instantly, amp draw drops to 5.8, so much lower than MO99, still lower than R22. And then the EER jump up to 12.3. So that's that 20% more efficient than R22. And it ends up being 46% more efficient than MO99. So that's, when we saw that, well, when they saw that, they're like, all right, we're in. And they've been a good supporter of us ever since. But that's the story. And it's important to know what you baseline yourself against, because R22's done. Unless you're working on the centrifugal, and you'll pay whatever it costs to make sure that thing is still running. The only thing that's going to work in that's R22. But for anything else, distributors can't get it, you're on allocation, customers are on allocation, you need another solution. So really our baseline is now other R22 replacements. So when I say 10 to 25%, maybe I should be saying 45 to 50% if that's the alternative. Which, as far as getting energy off the grid and increasing or decreasing utility bills and reducing CO2 emissions, and this is the simplest thing as an industry we can do to reduce CO2, free up energy, and make units run more efficiently. I'm convinced of that. I can't think of a simpler thing that, not that it's going to be mandated, that everyone has to use this, but you're already on the job, you're already working on it, throw a jug of this in, charge it up, everyone wins. Everyone wins. All right, so let's talk some chemistry.
How much is the pressure reduced, the condensing pressure?
So if you pull out the app, this is a great question. So to Bluon app, home, so I'm going home, tools and calcs, PT chart. So at 40 degrees Fahrenheit, your vapor is 50.5 and your liquid line 66.4. So as a baseline, R22 is about 68, 70. Other refrigerants are higher. We're the only one that operates at lower pressures than R22. So everything else is going to be even higher than R22. So for those that know their PT charts, when I tell people that at 40 degrees, the superheat's 50.5, they're just like, how is that possible? And how are there not oil carry issues? And there's not. So that's, it reduces head temp by about 50 pounds depending on capacity and what's going on there. So, but all that information is in the app as well.
We find that water-cooled units have a far longer compressor life than air-cooled units, and only because of the duty of the compressor. And this may extend the life of a compressor as well.
It does. Yep, it does do that. That's the other. So we've had a lot of success in the multifamily space, which usually when we get this presentation, people are thinking commercial, light commercial, expensive to buy a new unit. But multifamily, if anyone works in that industry, is pinching pennies. And they understand the value of delaying a large CapEx expense of putting in new units. And we're working with a lot of partners around the country to proactively retrofit all of their units in one space, and benefits to everybody. Their tenant, if their tenant's paying utilities, which most are, their utility bill goes down. HVACs, depending on what part of the country, about half of your utility bill. So it'll go down 25%. So let's just call it 10% energy savings for their customers. They are getting much more useful life out of their unit, so they can delay that CapEx expense of having to buy a new unit. Not to mention what's going to happen with R410, right? So if you're proactively retrofitting an entire complex with an R410 units right now, you're going to be in this same situation 10 years from now. Now you might say that's not my problem, I'll be doing something else, but it's going to be a problem, right? We'll see what Washington does, but R410's on the chopping block, so we'll see where that industry, that's a whole nother conversation. But
They'll come up with an answer, don't they?
yeah, just trust the process.
Using this refrigerant in a new unit now?
No, so this is a HFC.
Brian?
So this refrigerant, so R22 is an HCFC, right? Hydrochlorofluorocarbon, and it had ozone depleting properties. So that's why that got the axe, a decade ago. Any replacement to R22 is an HFC, hydrofluorocarbon, which has a greater global warming potential than R22, right? So when I said Washington's getting rid of R410A, and R410A is also a HFC, what they're really doing is getting rid of HFCs. So because of the global warming potential. Now our global warming potential is less than any other R22 replacement out there and less than R22. So the environmental impact of this is huge anyway. A company like Macy's is probably looking for a green story to tell. Proactively retrofitting their R22 units with TDX20 is a green story. And our multifamily properties that have done the proactive retrofits are applying for all these awards around corporate citizenship and corporate social responsibility and all that. Meanwhile, they're making more money as well. So it's one of those rare benefits of both situations. So to answer your question directly, no, we're not looking to put this in manufacturing because it's going to be phased out just like R410A eventually. Now Washington's got to figure out what they're going to do. They're going to install quotas on how much GWP you can import. Us being the lowest GWP refrigerant or R22 replacement means we can import more per quota, right? More pounds per quota. So we're in a pretty good spot, but no manufacturer would want to invest in a product that has an HFC refrigerant right now. And you're seeing the industry go all sorts of different directions. You're seeing R32, R434. So it's not going to be too long where you're going to have to carry like 8 jugs of refrigerant on your truck because you don't know what your unit's going to have going in. Maybe it'll balance out eventually, but it's going to be a mess for a while.
So you say delayed CapEx expenses is
Yeah.
probably the biggest advantage. I mean, there's a lot of physical and scientific advantages, but delaying cost going forward
Yeah.
is huge.
So, I mean, we all own cars, right? And the most financially sound thing to do is to drive that car for as long as you can. And if you look at like net present value of car ownership and all that, get as much life out of that as you can before you buy new. Eventually, the economics turn on you, but it takes a long time to actually get there. Cars are different because people like cars, right? So you want to buy new, but that as a finance person, that's what they would say. And you're 100% right. And as you think about where this is used, if you have a 3D scroll chiller where they built the building around the unit, you got to make that thing work as long as you can. And that's where this retrofit comes in, especially with R22 being gone. There really is no alternative. Eventually they're going to have to buy new, but hopefully that's like 50 years from now. Yeah.
I work with VRF technology, VRV.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been tested, but your standard compressor come on and ramp up to 60 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
I got older equipment, and has it been tested like inverter-driven compressors where it come on and it might run at 10 hertz or 15 hertz?
So help me out with the timeline here. So VRV is a pretty new technology. I know it's confusing as hell. R20, so there are R22 VRVs out there? Interesting.
It'd be like first generation
Yeah.
here in North America.
So I don't know how it's already running at low pressure.
Yeah. I don't know. I am not a technician. I lean into that. I can have conversations like this, but it's a good question. And what I can tell you, I do have the out, right, is after this meeting, feel free to call our tech support line. You hit 1 for residential, 2 for commercial. And the truth is a lot of our technicians aren't well versed in VRV as well. It's such a new thing, and it's such an easy thing to get wrong. So kudos to you for being in that trade, because that's tough work. Yeah. All right, we've hit that. So let's talk some chemistry. What's time? What are we looking like?
We're about 45 minutes in, halfway.
Halfway? Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So any R22 replacement is going to be a blend. Anyone that says they don't work with blends, they don't know what they're talking about, because R410A is a blend. R410A is 50% R32 and 50% R125. So let's focus on those two constituents. R32 is, what do you guys know about R32? There's one thing usually stands out. Flammable, yeah. That's the main thing. Slightly, yeah, it's A2L, right? They had to invent a new category to make it less scary. Although we have filled up balloons of R32, and we can debate what slightly means. We've lit that thing on fire. It's quite the pop. So that's what they say. Yeah, it's not like a flame torch. It's more like a candle. Yeah. So other than that, it's great. It transfers heat extremely efficiently. It has a very low GWP, but putting flammable refrigerants out there into the world, which, no disrespect to anyone in this room, but I'm sure you guys have seen technicians go on jobs that probably shouldn't be on the job they're on. It's a dangerous proposition. Other countries have done it, and it's been pretty successful. I think we're going to get there, but we'll see where the manufacturers choose to go. I think Daikin's kind of made their bed with R32, but it can be dangerous. So R125, anyone know anything about that? It's never a standalone. It's always in blends, but it's a pretty poor refrigerant. It's GWP. So I keep saying high and low. So let me baseline. R22's GWP global warming potential is like 1760 we are 1580, significantly below. R125 is 2500. The correlation between GWP and efficiency is strong amongst the HFC categories. You get into some HFOs and it throws things off, but it's a pretty good indicator that the GWP of the unit will tell you how efficiently we'll operate the unit. So R125 is terrible. The GWP is there. The latent heat of vaporization is another engineering term. It's bad for that as well. But you find it in fire extinguishers. It's a flame retardant. So R410 was able to just go boom 50-50. You know, some bartender created that one, and you're good to go. Whether that's the most appropriate blend, probably not. I mean, I would think the most R32 you could get relative to 125 and keep that A1 non-toxic, non-flammable is better, but they just went 50-50 and said go. So you look at these refrigerants. Now 407C, I've heard that one a couple times, requires oil change. So as a technician, to me, that's not something you want to rely on. That's not something you want on your truck because it's going to take time, more time and oil to do that job. And there's nothing more valuable than a technician's time, and that statement's never been truer than right now, as there's not enough people in the trade. So anything you can do to save time will save money as well. To 407C's benefit, that is quite a bit of R32. So if they could be oil miscible, then it's not a bad spot. But other than that, it's you got to look for a different solution. MO99, 45% R125, only 8.5% R32. New 22 doesn't even have any R32. So it has none of the best stuff in some of these blends, and it has over half of the bad stuff. So it's just like any cookbook, any recipe, any set of ingredients. It's going to be as good as its ingredients, right? So you can learn something just by looking at these pie charts about each one of these. When I see this, especially the two on the right, I see high pressures, loss of capacity, and loss of efficiency. I heard 422D in the back earlier. This is the most R125. Its GWP correlates with that. Its efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. You see some other ones in there as well. Our goal was how can we maximize R32, minimize R125, and maintain an A1 rating? Because once you go A2L, you're not going to get ASHRAE, EPA, nothing, right? You can't put a flammable refrigerant out there to replace a non-flammable refrigerant. It would be too confusing. So this was our blend. This was 3 years of work to get there. You can see, it goes out to a decimal point. That's not on accident. We tried many different decimal points and then got laser focused. So when I kind of shit on R410 earlier, it's frustrating that they think 50-50 is the right answer when we spent 3 years developing, what we think is the right answer, at least for an R22 replacement. So 21% R32, only 4% R125. The result is no capacity loss, or efficiency gain, and we put a proprietary lubricant in each one of our jugs. So there's the refrigerant and then there's a lubricant. The lubricant's fully miscible with the refrigerant. It's not like sitting on the top or nothing like that. And that's what allows us to be miscible with mineral and POE and AB if you're into any AB units out there.
What's the advantage of R125 in there? Why is it there at all? What does it do for this blend?
It's the flame retardant. It keeps you out of the A2L rating. Yeah. R134A has been in the news a little recently. It's a fine refrigerant. Its GWP is lower than R22. It's a good filler. It doesn't have great characteristics, but it's good enough. And we were able to leverage that, pretty well to complement the R32. As far as the long tail, I can't speak to, what those provide specifically, but if I had one of our techs, I'm sure they could. Yeah.
Oh, you saying that this new refrigerant is not an HFC?
It is an HFC. It's not.
I was going to ask you because electronic sniffers, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's got to.
Yeah, I've been throwing around some acronyms. So it is an HFC. It's not an A2L. It is an A1 rating. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like all the other ones. 410A is an HFC. Any of the ones we just talked about. HFCs. And that's what's on the chopping block in Washington right now because of the global warming issues.
Wasn't the whole purpose of them going to HFCs was to deplete the HCFCs?
Yeah, so
Chlorine was supposed to be the damage to the ozone, so
yeah,
they
it's
came up with hydrofluorocarbons. That took away the chlorine, so what's the whole purpose of now you wanna?
You're spot on. It's whack-a-mole, right? I mean, there's some good refrigerants out there that will either blow up on the spot, or if you put them in an AC unit, will kill you, right? Because they're toxic, because they flame. So it's trying to find the right solution, and Washington trying to solve for different problems and blaming refrigerants for the world's issues. So when they solved for the HCFC, they solved for the ozone. I'm not going to get political, but they solved for the ozone problem. So now the ozone is no longer an issue, but what they created was a global warming problem with HFCs. Now we got to get rid of HFCs because that's the global warming issue, and we're going to go into something else. And that something else is
HFCs cause ozone depletion?
HFCs cause global warming, HCFCs cause ozone depletion because of the chlorine. Everything you said is accurate, yeah. So HCFCs was the ozone issue. You solve for that, but when you solve for that, you created a global warming issue, and now they're trying to solve for that, and who knows what whack them all down. We'll see what pops up 10 years from now, and
Great new problems with new solutions.
yeah, and the EPA, I mean, manufacturers have a lot to benefit from these regulations as well. Keep that in mind. So they're selling new units. They got it, so Washington is a paid-for organization, and it gets dirty. I said I wasn't going to get political, but sometimes it's hard. All right, so I showed you this case study already. I really like this page. We have 100 other case studies. I think you guys can speak to some of them. But we go up to 100, and what's the first one? 105 ton in Telepack. Now, again, anything over 20 ton, we suggest give us a call. Anything under 20 ton, you can probably follow in the app pretty easily. But we've done a lot of units. We've had a lot of success with hospitals. We're doing a whole hospital chain up in the Northeast right now, or Northwest right now. A pocket of the country that loves the green story as well. So that's playing really well up there. We have talked to utility companies looking for rebates. That process was so brutal, and we just did not have enough manpower to continue giving all the testing and all the information they needed. But for what they give rebates for, it dominates that space. And I'm of the opinion we need to refund that program, because if I can go into this conversation, what's your all's energy company here?
Here in Nashville.
Yeah.
It's NES.
NES. So if I could say NES has vetted this and they're giving a $2 a pound rebate for every jug you buy, it's instant validity to everything else I'm going to say, right? So the story is true, it's there, but we just have had too many headaches dealing with them on an individual basis. And I don't know, maybe that's a world you're familiar with.
Yeah, they're not incentivizing incoming energy efficiency right now.
Oh, so it goes in waves, right? Because basically they just don't want to build their next power plant.
Something that uses more energy.
Yeah, they're selling energy, yeah. Yeah, so it's, I know there still are programs in certain parts of the country at least, but there's something there. Whether we choose to take advantage of it or not, we'll see. We could have a conversation around this. So I know we got the Macy's crew here. We've had a lot of success with school districts. Anywhere where the end user pays the utility bill makes a little more sense, right? The case is there without it, like a multifamily complex. But if you're talking about a school district, especially where the government, I'm sure, is pinching pennies to keep that school district running at any sort of budget. I mentioned hospitals, large manufacturing facilities. We've had some success there. Units get very complicated. You're usually working with some chillers, but it's possible. So does anyone want to kind of share where their head is right now? Obviously, we got the department store crew. We kind of know what they're thinking, but you work for the schools, okay. So you guys have non-VRV units as well, I'm sure. Yeah. And is that, so how does the school district work here? Is it Nashville, is it a county, I'm sure, is it?
It's Metro Nashville Schools.
Okay, it's gotta be a huge school district.
They got 150 schools.
Wow, okay. So yeah, this would be a great solution for that school district. We'll solve for that VRV question in a bit, but anything else that's running R22, this is a great fit for that. Anyone else want to kind of share where their head is?
See a lot of it in legacy industrial process cooling.
Yep.
You know, it's been around for a long time, and because of the capital that's required to change it, and its unique applications, it's not gonna get changed. And so having an alternative like this is very attractive.
Yeah, good. That's perfect application.
Aspect to this in that if you change over a large screw unit or something like that, it's got 450 pounds, you can sell that R22 to reclaimers at a good price.
Absolutely,
And
you
then
can.
put the Bluon in that system, and so you've lowered your energy, but you've sold
Yeah.
a product that is a high demand.
A commodity, really.
Yeah, it is. It's a commodity.
So we had that same mindset when we went to these multifamily units because we're doing all the retrofits, we're supplying the labor and everything for that. And part of our financials and part of our price to them was assuming we could take the R22 and sell it. And what we extracted from those units was anything but R22. It's people coming off and topping off with whatever they had on their truck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's scary. So EPA, that's a $10,000 fine per unit.
They let you renegotiate that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah. We're like we can't do anything with this. This is not what we're doing is illegal, but you know and these are big national corporations. So if the EPA is going to go after anyone, they're going to go for some big names. And as a result of that, they actually want us to expedite some of that process to make their units clean and not have that top off, field blended illegal refrigerant out there. So, but if you're working on a 350 ton or pound screw chiller, hopefully there's been a little more integrity with that unit. So absolutely bake that in. But yeah, that was scary to see. Here's a chart. I'm not going to walk through it, but it does talk about different units. The only thing that's probably relevant to touch on is the very bottom. We're talking about centrifugals or flooded evap chillers. So I know people. You guys are working on some pretty big units. No blend works in those. We've tried every protocol we can think of. It's either R22 or get a new unit. And if anyone tells you separately, I'm not saying don't trust them. Yeah. Yep. If anyone tells you separately, like if anyone is selling a R22 replacement and says it can work in flooded evap, just go with caution. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but it's not something that we've been able to solve for. But we've done everything else. You can see that the caveat, I don't know if you can read it from back there, with Bluon protocols. So, frequently everything above this is less than 20 ton. Long line sets are fine for us, no oil change issues. But once you get into large rooftops or IntelliPacks, we do have the protocols on the app and we can go through that.
So is it just all flooded evaporators? If it's
Any flooded evap is where my head just goes, nope,
regardless of the
nope.
compression?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Is that the lift? You can't get
Flooded
the
evap.
lift, or?
Oh man, you guys are asking good questions. I have been told if I hear the word flooded evap to say no. I can't explain why. But that's where you can call tech support. That's part
of Bluon protocol.
just say no. Just say no to flooded evap. The last thing we want is problems. We're looking for solutions. So might we be a little conservative there? Maybe, but we if you mess up one of those units, you can go underwater real fast. So let's talk about the support platform. I'm going to go mobile one more time and turn this around. The first video was cool about product. This video is my favorite because you can see.
Just leave it right there.
Yeah, we can do it.
Well, the speakers pointing towards you guys, I think, helps project the audio a little bit. But yeah, the idea is not to look at the screen. Obviously, it's up there, but just to get the audio pointing your direction.
Hey Bluon. Hey Bluon. Hey Bluon.
Hey, Bluon.
Hey Bluon. Hey Bluon. Hey guys, I love the app. Love the app.
Love the app.
We love the app.
Really love the app.
Love the app. Love the app.
I'm loving the app. One of the greatest inventions we've had in the air conditioning industry so far.
This Bluon app is great. The app's been great.
The app was great.
Great app. Great app.
Great app. Great app.
Great app. Greatest app ever. Best app I ever downloaded.
#1 app.
The Bluon app, it's an absolutely amazing one. The app is amazing.
Amazing.
Pretty awesome.
The app is awesome.
Your app is awesome.
The Bluon app is a technician's secret weapon.
If you don't know it,
Y'all need to get it.
it's very easy
to use.
Gives me all the information I need. Put in the model numbers, all the manuals, schematics, wiring diagrams, unit, model, serial number. Find different types of machines.
Good information as far as parts.
It just tells me everything I need to know.
Just punch in what you need and you got it.
So we have over 1,000 of those videos. So when you sign up for the app, and you guys will be part of this process here in a bit, give us your address, we'll send you a hat. And if you send us in an appreciation video, I think we call it, we'll send you a water bottle. So yes, they do get a water bottle for sending in those videos, but I think they're being honest at the same time. So, all right, does anyone not have the app at this point? Has everyone's been able to create an account, get logged in, 4581? I'm assuming that's a yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, appreciate that. So let's do this. Yeah, I can talk about it or I can try to show it to you. So I'm going to do this, and feel free to follow along if everyone's in. Unplug here. Fingers crossed this works. I don't know why it wouldn't. Boom, there it is. So that's my phone. Here's the home screen. And again, you know, I'm not offended if you want to play with your phone right now, because feel free to follow along with me. So when you open up the app, it's on. I was already in a unit earlier. It goes to the models tab, and you can see all the different models that we have out there, or all the different manufacturers. There's a couple on here that we might be missing, but not a lot. We kind of hit the high notes. What's a unit an R22 unit someone's been working on? I'll run the risk of not having it in here, but see if it does. Anyone have a model number that they can rattle off the top of their head? What? Goodman? All right, let's check it out. So Goodman, and then in here we organize them by series. So it's just the first few letters of the model number. And what was the one that you said? CKL. CKL? Oh, P?
I think it was P.
The C or P? C. You had it right, CKL.
Okay. CKL. So then here's all the model numbers. You mentioned the 30, so here's the 30. You can click on manuals, product data, and there's the product manual. So again, when we created this, we didn't realize that these manuals were so hard for technicians to find, especially when they're going up to a job and they don't know what unit they're coming up to or who the manufacturer is. Because I think Carrier has a pretty good website for you to find manuals, but you go to a job that has a Carrier, then you go to a job that has a Train, it's like, well shit, now I got to start over. So us being manufacturer agnostic has been super helpful for technicians because they can just open up the Bluon app and go from there. So you get everything that you'd get in the product manual, right? So you got your nomenclature. I'm zooming in to show you that it doesn't get grainy. It's not like we're taking a picture of this and then copying the picture and then uploading that. This is kind of as good as it gets. Some clearance charts here. So that's that example. This TDX20 retrofit, so this is an R22 unit, so your options are going to be green, yellow, or red. This one is green, meaning it's a pretty standard, which based on the size of it, I can just look at it and tell there's not too much to this retrofit. You're going to evacuate, change the filter dryer, and recharge. I say that it's actually an 11-step process, and in our effort to make techs' lives easier and have them gravitate to our brand, we put all 11 steps in here. with instructions on each one. So before converting the system, do a full system survey to help you understand the job. Look at the units in the control, identify, correct, and before replacing a refrigerant. Swapping out refrigerants is not going to fix a leak. I mean, you guys know that, right? So don't just assume this will fix all your problems. You got to baseline the unit. When you're done with that, step 2, and it walks through exactly what to do. And these, if it's green, these are going to be the same. If it's yellow, it will be specific to that model as to what these steps are. Usually going to have to do with metering devices and control panels the more complicated it gets. So that's that. Let me go to, I'm going to go to train. And we have some IntelliPacks on here. Click one. So this, you see where it says TDX20 retrofit R410A. This is where we're diverging as a complementary tool to our refrigerant to its own tool to support technicians. So if you're working on this job, you go up here, product data, and there's your manual. That's actually the longest I've seen one take in a long time. And this one's cool because it's color, so that's kind of neat. And whatever you would need there. Installation instructions. So sometimes we have we can find 6 relevant manuals to the unit. People putting out service facts after, whatever we find, we'll throw on here. So this one, they had an installation instruction independent of the product manual, so we put that on here as well.
Those temperature pressure charts you was scrolling through?
I can't imagine the PT charts are in the product manuals, but I can show you where I got it. So if you go to Home, Tools and Calcs, PT chart, here's the PT chart for TDX20. There's that 40 degrees, vapor at 50.5, liquid at 66.4. We also have the PT chart for R22. And similar to how things have progressed throughout our company, people are saying, why don't you have more PT charts on here? And we're going to. So there's actually some pretty cool apps. Give credit where credit's due. Danfoss has a pretty cool one with a whole bunch of PT charts and some sliders and stuff. We're trying to be a one-stop shop for technicians to pull out our app when they get on a job and have everything they need. And when you built it around a refrigerant, you've kind of cornered yourself. Now we're expanding out in real time. Superheat subcool calculator, I was asked about that earlier. So you can play around in here and calculate superheat subcool. TXV sizing. So sometimes you have to go from TXV to EXV depending on how large the unit is. This will help you out, figure out when that happens. There's Pro Hacks, which is kind of just helpful things to read through if you're in the trade. So you can go into expansion valves, and it'll tell you kind of tips and tricks around expansion valves around retrofits. So we're building more out. I think next week, actually, we're finally going to launch our forum. So there's other HVAC forums out there, a lot of them on Facebook, on YouTube. There's websites dedicated to it, like HVAC School. We're trying to create one. Ours will be different because you can tag series or models in your post. So when someone else goes to that model, they can then see what other people have said about that model. And they can have that question and answer session as well. So that'll be cool when we launch forum. What else?
Well, the biggest problem with expansion valve is that your head pressure going down doesn't give you enough mass flow rate through, through an orifice.
Yeah, so again, I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So anytime you're changing the pressure flowing through a unit, the expansion valves needs to be adjusted to accommodate that exact pressure. So going from R22 to TDX20, we recommend 1 to 4 turns on the expansion valve to allow it to best operate with the new pressures in the system. Does that answer?
Opening it
Opening it.
more.
Yeah.
Because you've got it's a better refrigerant.
Correct.
But at lower ambience, then all of a sudden you need that same mass flow rate through that orifice.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yep.
So you open it. Yep.
So do you need to change fan speeds at all, or just typically just?
Yeah, I get questions around gaskets and O-rings and stuff. The reason those are issues with other refrigerants is because they operate at higher pressures. So some of your seals can get thrown off, but when you're at lower, all that stuff is good. Fan speeds, I've never heard that be an issue.
Yeah, so you're lower and you're not doing anything different with the oil.
Right.
Somebody said it was quieter.
Yeah, it's a side effect of it runs quieter. So school districts is a great one. Churches, anywhere where there's an outdoor unit near a quiet space where people need to hear well, a side effect of the product is that it reduces the sound of the outdoor unit. Just think about it as it just kind of like settles down and it runs smoother. And noise is an impact there as well. I don't think we have any studies, but it has been a noted side effect or side effect sounds bad, but positive effect of a retrofit. That's kind of, that was my home screen. If I lose my phone, call my wife. I don't know how someone's supposed to give you a phone back anymore because they're all locked, right? So even if they wanted to give it back, I don't know how they do unless you do that. That was my philosophy. I don't know.
Call your wife.
All right. That's kind of what else you guys got? Any questions? Happy to answer anything you got. You guys see a need for this? I will say the need as an industry has never been greater than it is right now with other replacements skyrocketing in price and R22 becoming unavailable. Do you guys have R22? You guys? You got some? Yeah. So I was talking with a distributor out of Philly the other day, and the last time they bought 407C was 8 months ago. And she was like, you guys are priced so much higher than 407C. How do you expect me to bring this on? I was like, go look at your spot market. Yeah, like the industry's changed in 8 months. And if you think that you're going to buy R22 at that same price as you did 8 months ago, you need another solution. So we'll see if it works out. But it's just interesting how quickly the industry's changed. And I know many distributors saying we're done with R22 because we don't want people to think we have it. Let's just get the message out there that we're done. And we don't want to have these subpar alternatives. It's more SKUs that we have to carry in our warehouse. It's more manufacturers, or if they work through refrigerant distributors that we have to deal with. They're just going TDX20. Replaces new 22, M99, 407C, and R22. And it's not a bad strategy. Even if the market goes back down, SKU consolidation is valuable to distributors. I'm kind of pitching the wrong people right now, but there's something to be said for just having this on your truck and being confident in it.
On video, he said, it seems too good to be true. And when you read the list of all the things, it really does. And
yeah.
I think you kind of alluded to this, but can you speak to some what is the science behind it? Is able to accomplish all these things?
Yeah, the secret sauce is the operating pressures. That's what it comes down to, and that creates the no capacity, the gain in efficiency. I guess I should say the proprietary lubricant. We have a patent on a lubricant that goes into each jug. That creates the no oil change. So anyone who's trying to talk to you about a premium product and their pitch doesn't end with give it a shot, they're not really selling a premium product. That's my opinion, right? If any tech that tries this is yeah, this is legit. I was in Indy 2 weeks ago with a partner up there, and a tech walked in and I talked to him. He walked out with a jug. He called me on Saturday at 2 o'clock and said, and I quote, I gave him my card as he was leaving. He said, "Man, that's some kick-ass shit you sold me on Friday." And I was like, well, I do appreciate this call. Kind of weird on Saturday at 2 o'clock, but I appreciate it. So, maybe he was sniffing. Is that still a thing? People still sniffing refrigerants? I don't know.
There's been no
issue with elastomers, with seals, anything?
No, all that stuff is good.
What's the oldest conversion y'all have?
Oldest unit?
Well, the
Probably.
longest period in which it's been commercially applied. The first time y'all did it on.
We've been in the market for 8 years, and that's been like on a trial basis. So I say we've been active for like 4 years. We had, as we were developing the product, we were trying it in the field as well as in a lab. So those field units have been out there for 8 years.
But if y'all track how these units have performed, the first jug you commercially sold and applied in the marketplace, have y'all gone back to look at how those systems are performing over time?
I can't say that we have, but I think my answer to that would be every unit deteriorates over time, but we have, do you guys know MeasureQuick, that software? It's a very cool software. It's a new technology. When we test all of our studies, we look at amp draw and EER and stuff. MeasureQuick measures all that for you. We absolutely always see a spike in performance in a good way after the conversion, and anything after that, I would think if there's deterioration would happen regardless of the refrigerant just because of environmental factors. So I don't want to stand up here and say that it will always work at that forever, because stuff happens, right? It doesn't prevent leaks. It doesn't prevent people from not cleaning their coils out on a regular basis, but the refrigerant will stand alone as improving, if not, but not fixing every issue. I don't know, is that a good?
Yeah, I mean, we just got a long history of how 22 and elastomers, seals, and things of that nature, how those components perform together. And so, what we're looking at is can I put this refrigerant in and expect at least equal performance from a compatibility and longevity standpoint of those system components that I would, irrespective of outside conditions, just in terms of compatibility with the refrigerant?
The answer to that's yes.
What happens if the refrigerant is blended? Because I know some guys are just going to come and just dump it right on top of 22.
Yeah. So
get a bad name when stuff starts to freeze up.
As a refrigerant manufacturer, we do not recommend anyone top off any R22 system with anything but R22. That's EPA guidance. Field blending refrigerants is illegal. It deteriorates the performance of the unit. The compressor is constantly trying to figure out what's coming because they don't blend; they just run separately. Yeah, so you can hear the compressor. Oh, there's the 407C, and then oh, there's a 22. So it's terrible.
It happens all the time. It happens every day. People are just going to say, "Hey, it's compatible. I'm just going to top it off and see what happens."
Our people know that you don't do that. You change out the refrigerant.
Yeah, I can. This is not a sales pitch for doing that. If that is to happen with TDX20, it wouldn't hurt the unit any more than any other refrigerant being topped off with R22. But the unit will break faster because that's not how the unit's designed to run. So I might lose sales in the process, but if that's the intent of putting a jug of TDX20 on your truck, then I would say buy something else. Hopefully that something else is cheaper, because those are usually the type of techs that would want to top off anyway, is not really the quality of the building, but just get on the job, get off the job as quick as you can. So it will not hurt the unit worse, but when that unit does break and then someone says, oh, we use TDX20, I don't want that brand out there, right? I don't, that's not, you didn't use TDX20 is the truth. Yeah, you created a blend and I can't stand by that, whatever you created.
Let me make one comment. I talked to a lot of owners, lots of people that are running large facilities, and they do not know about this tool to delay their CapEx expenses. One of the largest owners and facility people in Nashville, they had $5 million over the next 3 years to change out every piece of R22 equipment in their so-called fleet, if you will, or in their equipment. And when I began telling them about what this might do for them, what Bluon could do for them, they were just amazed. I mean, it was like Christmas for them. And they were going, I can manage this better than now knowing this than before.
Yeah.
So it's relief to people that are wondering how, particularly school districts, they've got no additional money. They've got
Right.
none, they've got no extra money. So, I mean, this is a big deal for them.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said as well for trying to buy 5 years worth of time out of a unit and figure out what the next phase of refrigerants is going to be. Because going all in on 410 right now, you're going to be in this issue 10, 15 years from now. So that's part of the pitch as well. I mean, you guys obviously have to sell this to someone else, right? If they're looking to swap a unit out, so this will help the unit. It'll run smoother. It'll buy you time, and time right now in this industry is extremely valuable because investing an entire fleet of units in R410 just doesn't seem like a great strategy if there's an alternative.
One thing that I went through the early '90s with the refrigerant wars, and every manufacturer had their own refrigerant.
Yeah.
It was just a war. It was just, my refrigerant is better than your refrigerant. And people were getting owners to change out the refrigerant in their units on centrifugal chillers, changing out the motors, a whole new set of motors, all new seals, all new $50,000 per centrifugal chiller, so you can get the new wonderful refrigerant. But the people that won that war were the people that just stayed the course and made that piece of gear run longer with the refrigerant that they had, which was R11. They put a new purge on it, which kept it from leaking as much. It kept the refrigerant inside the unit, and they just ran that thing longer. And I think that this is one of those times that if you can get another 10 years out of this thing, owners, people that are spending money, and they're by the way, they're the only people worth worrying about. I mean, they're the people that pay our salaries. Everybody that does a billing and pays for the maintenance of their equipment, they're the people that are funding this entire change.
Right.
If you can make them well on this by making their equipment run longer, there's a huge advantage to you.
Yeah, very well said. Any other questions? What are y'all's thoughts?
Well, I have one customer that I deal with, and it's a big customer. And they're gonna be using thousands and thousands of pounds of whatever type of refrigerant they choose to pick for replacement for R22. This one meets all their needs. It's safe, it reduces energy consumption. Because it reduces energy consumption, you're running less amps on your compressor. I think it will extend the life of the unit.
Correct.
So the only thing that they're gonna question is, where is it cost-wise with all the others? So this will be happening over a period of time as their units, most of their units are all 22. As they have a problem and they replace this, it'll be 60 pounds, 100 pounds, 200 pounds at a time. Do we have a rough estimate of what a cylinder of this is gonna cost? And if they were buying, say, a pallet of the refrigerant, what the cost would be per cylinder? Because that's something they're gonna wanna know, because they're gonna be looking at lots of money to choose a replacement.
Yeah.
As to use whatever type of replacement they pick.
So I am not, I mean, obviously that's between you and MRG.
The answer is half of what R22 is running today. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's my pitch right now is
Well, I know,
less than
but
half.
Where is it compared to the other replacements that are on the market? I know
It's at,
more efficient, I know it's better
Yeah.
for the equipment,
so
but cost is a big factor to
right now it's at par. Look, let me talk in round numbers because I don't like talking about price in front of distributors, but all right. Are you okay with this if I?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say 400. So we sell in 30-pound drums. You can expect to pay 400. I'm going to go ahead and say plus and minus 50. I'll hedge on both sides there. But again, 30 pounds. So you might be used to buying 25, so you got to do that math. I heard earlier today 407C is 400 for a 25-pounder, so we're less than 407C. I saw in Indianapolis on Wednesday a spot buy over the counter of new 22 25-pounder was 462, so significantly cheaper than new 22. Now, yes, they've all ramped up over the past 3 months. Will they come back down? I don't know. I have no idea. But right now, we're actually cheaper. The value is there. This is what I say as well, is doing a retrofit. Are you the one doing the retrofit? Is it your company or?
Well, yes, we'll do most of that, yes.
So let's say you're talking about a 20-ton system. Let's say that's 60 pounds of refrigerant. When 407C was low, it was $4 a pound. Ours, let's just say, is 14. Keep the math easy. So $10 per pound over 60 pounds, you're talking $600 of refrigerant change out. My guess is that total job costs $6,000, I don't know, to do a proper retrofit. And so much of that's labor and other materials that you're going to have to change out anyway. So the incremental cost of putting in a better refrigerant seems negligible when 407C was at its lowest than compared to labor and other parts. So that's kind of what I would try to,
Their additional cost will only be the cost of the refrigerant and whatever we have to do to retrofit the system.
Because all the techs are employees.
Because all the labor
is fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
The contract we have.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of us picking. I think that even if it's a little more expensive than some of the other replacements, the offset in energy savings is the selling point.
Correct.
Because the others can't offer that.
Right.
So, that's that and the ease, the simplicity of using it compared to some of the others. We've turned down a lot of them, and they have, because of the having to change the oil and all the different process you have to go through, and a lot of it is the loss of capacity.
Yeah, it gets hot here.
I mean, let's face it, they have buildings that are tight for capacity right now. It's AT&T to it.
Okay.
And AT&T has thousands of buildings, and most of it is telephone equipment. That's what's in the building. So the equipment can't get hot. And as they've added customers over the years, some of these buildings are 40 years old, some of them older.
And they're only getting hotter.
Customers, they've added equipment, so they've added an increased load. And they have everything from wall-mounted bar units to centrifugal chillers and various different things, but a lot of their stuff is going to be in the 60, 80 ton range. Some of them will be 40, some 20, but a lot of it's going to be bigger stuff with a lot of refrigerant capacity. So, that's what I'm looking at. They don't have plans. They can't replace all of their units anytime soon, because that would cost millions and millions of dollars. They have too many facilities.
Yeah, we consider ourselves price competing against R22, and even when we were more expensive, it was still a viable product. The fact that we're half the cost of R22 now, it just makes it seem like a no-brainer, and the industry's responding. I know we got another order from MRG. That was very good timing from you guys, because we're in a bit of a back order situation right now, which we're going to get out of. But it's everything that we're saying is happening, and people are gravitating to it with a lot of success. So I think that's a perfect example of a customer that could really benefit from it.
Where's it manufactured?
We do manufacture in China, and then ship it over. It ships out of LA, and then obviously to here. So.
Philip Hagler is our parts manager and runs our parts shop back there. Philip, you got Bluon in stock.
We
do have it in stock. Like you said, we placed an order, got a couple pallets in stock currently. Price on it's $420.
There you go.
It does come, every jug comes with 4 of the retrofit stickers on the jug, so you can clearly label how much you used and that it's been retrofitted. Have stickers for both the inside and outside the unit. So I guess you guys know the whole industry right now, refrigerant is just skyrocketing over the last couple of months. So that also makes Bluon, it has not changed their prices since we've been the distributor. We're the only distributor in Middle Tennessee. There's no one else even close by. 420, which is, I guess, under half the cost of R22.
Yeah, I've been saying it's under now. I heard 1,300. That's the highest I've heard for R22 across the country.
But I've been kind of talking, and we have, we've sold it obviously, and I've gotten no negative feedback so far. I actually had one customer came in, he said he had a perfectly working R22 unit in his house, and he just went ahead and proactively changed it out. And he got better efficiency gains than these guys are advertising.
Yeah.
From him, he said 20%. He said he had 20% lower amp draw. He changed it out on an 85-degree day and hasn't rechecked amp draw with the hotter temperatures, but it has been able to keep up. And he said he thinks it maybe even performs a little better than the R22 as far as keeping up in the heat of the day with these 90-plus degree days we've had. I've gotten no negative feedback, but that's probably the most positive feedback I've gotten where somebody actually baselined the unit before they did the retrofit. So
We said that was a 30-pound cylinder.
yes, it's a 30-pound cylinder, that's correct.
And
Now, I would ask, so does it use about the same amount as 22?
so as you do a retrofit, we always recommend you charge to 80% and then start walking from there. But you'll probably stop at about 95%. That's the average. But just be safe on charging it. Don't just, charge it to full and then walk away. It's going to be overcharged at that point, most likely.
And I'm sure you have distributors all over the country.
We do, yeah. So, as you guys are working on national accounts, if you go to www.bluon.com/stores, you'll see a red dot for every place where we have physical location. And to Philip's point, the only red dot in Central Tennessee is MRG. But we have a couple gaps currently, which we're working to fill in the Carolinas and up in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Everything else, we got pretty good coverage. But if you're talking about skid quantities, we'll make something work. That's more for onesie twosie. We always go through distribution, so we won't. We'll have someone carry the paper, but we'll get you what you need.
Well, I suspect what they'll do is that they're laid out in regions. So I expect the area manager for Tennessee and Kentucky will make the decision to buy and warehouse it somewhere.
Yep.
One in Kentucky, maybe one in Tennessee.
Okay.
That's how they usually do it.
Yeah, we got those markets pretty well covered.
So there's a bit of a backlog. If we do pallet purchasing, what are we looking at?
So 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And hopefully our normal is, we ship out of LA. So if we have inventory, it's 1 week, probably to this part of the country, probably a little less. So hopefully in about 4 weeks, that 3-week lead time goes to 1 week, kind of as on a go forward basis.
Do you have any shareable marketing?
We have a bunch. So some of it's in front of you. I guess I'm sharing, right? So.
And it'd be more of a proactive approach to conversions for commercial customers?
Yep. Let me go. Oh, this is going to be tough for me. Let me do my display here. Oh, well, on our website, I won't fiddle with it for too long. It's just bluon.com. There's plenty of printable merch out there, depending on who you're talking to. Some of them is more storytelling, which is kind of what's in front of you. And then there's PT charts, cut sheets, and stuff like that as well. So you can print all that stuff out, and we can ship you more starter packs. We call them starter packs. It comes with 100 brochures, some hats, some water bottles. So if you're if you're out there selling it, we want to equip you guys, I mean, just like a distributor, to proactively have those conversations. And
Yeah, if you need physical marketing material, we can get you that, or we can send you a digital copy as well. So.
I don't know what that is.
Is that what you're thinking? You're thinking
Well,
handouts or stickers or magnets?
a lot nowadays, everything's social media. So we'd also be looking for little clips that we can put on with the social media ad.
So we're big on Instagram's our biggest. We have over 10,000 Instagram followers, and then our YouTube page gets a lot of activity as well. So
It's an immediate need. Our customers are reaching out daily. What do you got for dessert?
yeah, our YouTube has those 2 videos that I just played today. So if you want to send them, that obviously the technical one's more relevant for you. That's out there. I recorded just recently, me and my peers, a 14-minute training video. So I know this is being recorded, which is great, but getting someone to watch the whole thing will be difficult. So we boil it down to 14 minutes. It's on YouTube, but it's not public, so I can send you the link. And if they can spare 14 minutes, they can learn, this presentation essentially. So we're trying to. We're growing faster than our employee base is growing, so we're trying to think of ways to be more efficient in our marketing, and that's been a good one so far. I want to pull some stuff up, but there's like a.
You're standing between lunch right now.
Oh well, that's not a good place to be. I heard today. I was listening to a podcast. Hot dogs are called tube steaks in northern New Jersey, and I love it.
Yeah.
So it's tube steak lunch today.
I ain't eating no tube steak.
On that note, we also have hamburgers.
Yeah. All right, more tube steaks for me.